Okay, I'm live. And the big question of the day, well, for this live stream, anyways, or the topic, the subject matter I'm going to be dealing with for this live stream is freedom of speech making a comeback? And I know there's a lot of ups and downs of that. That's a real roller coaster ride of a topic to talk about, but I'm seeing at least some signs that things are at least on the upswing. Right? Are we anywhere near there yet? Near having full on freedom of speech on the internet? No, right? No. Although there are some plays on the internet. That's the thing I gotta keep pointing out to people on a regular basis is even when you're talking about the internet and social media, think about the internet and social media. Think about the internet as a highway and social media as a destination off of an off ramp. But it's still just one destination. You can continue on and travel and get off many, many different off ramps. As a matter of fact, every off ramp you get off, there's multiple destinations you can go there. So the internet actually is quite expansive, much bigger than even just, the dominant social media players. So no doubt in my mind, there are areas of the internet where freedom of speech actually does exist. The big question, though, the one that I think we're all really trying to figure out is, in the public square, right? These big behemoths, these, your Twitters, your Facebooks, right? Your Instagram, WhatsApp, all these other social media posts or platforms. Is there freedom of speech there? And of course, the 800-pound gorilla in the room we're talking about, and as it pertains to the establishment media, right? Who are actually the ones. The craziest thing is the people in the media, right? Which is so crazy if you thought about this, decades ago. It's the people in the media who want to quash and quell free speech. It's literally what they rely on. But this is the thing: once you've gained controls of power, right? Well, now freedom of speech doesn't matter to them anymore, right? It's their speech, and they don't want to hear from anyone else. Is what it comes down to then, right? Once again, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that just tells you who has absolute power in the media industry these days, right? Right? I think we're all well aware of that. Anyways, I did notice that there was someone that had already posted a comment a little bit earlier on, so I'm just going to check on that real quick. Yes, Adam Smasher. Elon just banned Yay and refused to let Jones back on. So no. I kind of get what you're saying there to a degree, but this is kind of where I'm, leading off with here is so the question wasn't have we reached and attained full freedom of speech on the online public spaces. I would definitely agree with you there. No, we have not reached or attained that milestone as of yet. The question being, though, once again, the question is you really got to pay attention to the wording of the question. My question is freedom of speech making a comeback? Does it at least look like, or can you perceive that, hey, freedom of speech at this particular point in time looks like it's at least somewhat on the upswing? Right now, I'll just say personally, now that could change, right? But right now, in this particular time, it kind of looks that way at the very least. Anyways, there's a few things that I want to cover here, but the main thing, the first one I'm going to go with right here, just because it's a real simple one, and I got Twitter open right now. Anyways, is so funny these establishment media outlets, right? And of course, the picture that they just such clickbaity, so clickbaity. Anyways, let me just show you here. So share screen. Yeah, here we go. So this is a headline. As you can see, this one is out of CTV News. Another one of Canada's, government-funded propagandist arm of the government, basically, right? CTV News, as you see, with the headline, hate speech dramatically surges on Twitter following Elon Musk takeover, new research shows. Hey, wait a minute. Where's the experts? Don't you mean an expert said this? Right? Isn't that the go-to narrative these days? You fucked up, CTV contributor. This is Oliver Darcy. Oh, right. This is actually just a repost of a CNN Digital, right? Look at that. Oliver Darcy, CNN Digital, published December 2nd, 2022. So CTV News, when they're not creating their own fake news, well, they just copy and paste CNN fake news, right? I mean, what do you expect, right? Anyways, let me just start reading a little bit in here. New Twitter owner Elon Musk declared last month that hate speech impressions had dramatically fallen on the platform since he took over. It was a remarkable claim given that Musk has executed mass layoffs and chased away hundreds of employees, draining the company of much needed resources to enforce content moderation policies, which the billionaire has also publicly criticized. That's the thing. Like they're saying that there was that. See, this is well, I still got a little bit to read there, but the first thing to deal with is they're saying that hate speech that Elon Musk said hate speech impressions had dramatically fallen on the platform. And I mean, who would have better access to the actual facts, the statistics, the stats, right? Than Elon Musk, who is now the owner, CEO of the company, right? I mean, come on. But they're already saying it's a remarkable claim given that Musk has excused. Well, maybe one doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of effect on the other. Right? That's the thing. Why, if Elon Musk is saying hate speech impressions are down, and a lot of these people that that he laid off, right, which are people that we know, as we all know, were probably a lot of insider activists at Twitter. Well, if that hate stuff has gone down, well, if the most hateful people on that dominate that platform aren't there anymore, because that's the thing. Here's a news flash for you. Twitter employees also use Twitter. So once again, I don't know how you can come up with that as just, well, there's this equals that. Well, no, there's a whole lot of nuance to it, which I'll bring to the table. You won't necessarily hear from them. But let's go on, just read a little bit more here. On Friday, two watchdog groups published research that, on Friday, two watchdog groups published research that indicated Musk's claims simply did not hold water, offering one of the clearest pictures to date of the surging tide of hate speech on the platform. The Center for Countering Digital Hate and Anti-Defamation League both said in reports that the volume of hate speech on Twitter has grown dramatically under Musk's stewardship. So once again, how are they making these calculations? Where's the charts? Surely they must be down here somewhere. Nope, just a bunch of rhetoric as far as I can see. Don't see any charts. No, not one chart. Wow, that's weird. I'd like to know how they're figuring this stuff out. Maybe it'll say a little bit further down in the article. Specifically, the Center for Countering Digital Hate said the daily use of the N-word under Musk is triple the 22 average, and the use of slurs against gay men and trans people are up 58% and 62% respectively. Well, first of all, let's just, okay. So this is the problem, right? This is not just with central planning, but these people that just use data and just pure data analytics to try to push a narrative, right? Without actually having anything else to contribute to it. So where are we going with this first? So the use of the word N-word under Musk is triple. So first of all, there are a lot of black people, right? A lot of black people that like to use the word N or use the N-word themselves. They use it around. It's just common urban vernacular in some places, right? So I don't know. Maybe some of them didn't feel as comfortable saying it, prior, when there was much more restrictions on the internet. But are they saying it as hate speech, right? First of all, we all know, let me just say this first and foremost. Hate speech is a misnomer. And it should, especially when you're talking about a company like Twitter. I mean, these Center for Digital Hate, you might be able to make that case in Kazakhstan, in Canada, where we don't actually have genuine, true freedom of speech, right? Where there's this pretense or pretending that there's such thing as hate speech, that words are violence, right? Which, as we know, is bullshit. I mean, most of us learned that, when we were still little kids. That's bullshit, right? But anyways, but in the U.S., you're talking about an American company with the First Amendment. There is no such thing as hate speech. The Supreme Court has said as much, right? So These people just make up definitions in their mind, right? They're not applicable to not just this corporation, but in their own countries, not even applicable, but they're just going to run with it anyways, right? Unbelievable. Yeah, so these two groups, right, as we all know, the reason why they have hate and defamation in their names is because, like I say, projecting, folks. That's a big thing that people really need to learn and understand these days is just watch and listen to what they say. Just listen to the things they accuse others of, the kind of rhetoric they use. And trust me when I tell you, that is major projecting. That's how you get to know who they are as a person. Just listen to them project. We all do it, folks. We're all guilty of projecting. Just pay attention to it. And once again, you'll get to know a little bit more about that person than just the superficial aspect of what they look like. Anyways, specifically the Center for Countering Digital Hate said the daily use of the N-word. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, and that's another thing. And slurs against gay men. First of all, what are the slurs, right? Once again, like these are just what? Someone called someone a name? Was it done in a joke? Was it really done out of vitriol and hate? Maybe people were just arguing. That's the other thing. Have you ever heard of two people arguing? Even maybe two people in a household that say some really, really terrible things to each other. Does it mean they truly, genuinely hate each other? Chances are probably not. Most of the times. But that's the thing. These people, no nuance to it whatsoever. Just black and white, black and white, black and white. So much failing, on so many levels. And the Anti-Defamation League said in a separate report that its data, so maybe there is some data here, shows both an increase in anti-Semitic content on the platform and a decrease in the moderation of anti. So here we go. So Kanye. And that's another thing with all this anti-Semitic shit. Now, listen, as you folks know, I am not a fan by any stretch of the imagination of that using collective guilt and punishment. Oh, that's really irks me. It's actually one of my biggest pet peeves of just one of these things that humans tend to go towards, right? I've fought it tooth and nail, and I still to this day, I'm vehemently opposed to collective guilt, punishment, or that groupthink mentality, or attributing blame to an entire group of people. I mean, unless those all people can be proven to be 100% guilty, which you can't when you're talking about like entire groups such as Jews or black people or white people. I mean, it's just such a farce. But the fact that these are the very people, these people that would say, oh, white people are terrible, right? They would label white people. They would target entire groups of people, right? White men, white heterosexual, or what they call those cis-normative. I mean, they got all these derogatory labels, right? And shit. But yet they're going to say that, no, it's their opponents that are so hateful. And this anti-Semitism thing. I mean, once again, nobody, as you can see, is a fan of targeting. I mean, even Elon Musk, myself included. Now, I would have maybe taken a different approach. See, here's the thing. Maybe I should offer some advice to the Elon Musk, the Mark Zuckerbergs. I've offered this many years ago. They were never listening then. They probably aren't listening now. They probably won't listen anytime in the future. Who am I? I'm just a big nobody. I was going to say fat, but no, I'm not fat by any stretch. But I'm just a nobody, right? I'm a nobody. I get it. I understand. But here's the thing. The beautiful thing about the way online is regulated in the U.S., basically Section 230, the beautiful thing about that Section 230, right, is the fact that, you know what, if you were Zuckerberg or Musk right now, and you have control of these behemoths of the social media platform with, billions of tweets or likes or shares or all these things, right? All the content that goes up on these. Think about it per day, right? Why? Other than a make work program, I guess if it's just a make work program, right? To get people in jobs. I mean, but I don't know if that's necessarily the greatest way to go about things. Definitely, I would agree it's not, though. Suggest it's not actually, but and Elon was almost basically going with that, and I've heard it bandied around by other people. I've talked about it in the past many years ago. Is Section 230 protects you from any liability or responsibility or culpability in what people post on your platforms. You're like, if you're for that protection, then take full advantage of it and take your fucking hands off the wheel. You know, Tesla, right? Come on, put it on autopilot. Really, I'm kind of joking away, but just stop, right? Unless something goes up on these platforms that is actually deemed illegal based on some actual law where some actual victim, where there's an actual crime that's taken place, right? Or the potential of that crime based on, the actual jurisprudence of, like threaten to go kill someone and actually it being a genuine serious threat, maybe stand with a gun and actually showing that you're actually on your way, walking to the person's house, or, I mean, if something is being done that has the potential to cause real harm to other people, then once again, that's the only time that you should even enter into the fray of moderating or suppressing content on these platforms. That's the thing. Or child pornography, perfect example. But once again, that is illegal as well. So if it's something that's illegal, deal with it and let the law deal with it so that people actually, now I know it's getting harder and harder to actually have an honest, open court system where your day in court is going to be, and your presumption of innocence and how everything's, hopefully the justice system is still relatively intact enough to be able to deal with these situations. But like I say, that's the proper role and function. If you're going to moderate, is when something is on there illegal. But words or arguments, things people say, it's just enough already. Just stop with it. Just stop. Because that's the other thing. People will say some words, and then what's the response? To escalate. That's all these social media platforms do. Escalate. Well, I'm going to cancel you, right? So it's usually the punishment is far outstripped from whatever the supposed crime, which wasn't a crime. That's the thing, right? Wasn't a crime, but the supposed, policy infringement on the policy, or not acknowledging the policy, or doing something against the policy, right? But come on, if it's not illegal based on U.S. law, this is a U.S. company, then just leave things alone. That's the beautiful thing about these social media platforms. They have the protections afforded them with Section 230, and yet they still want to get in and be busybodies and pick and choose what's allowed to be on their platforms or not, right? I mean, then if you do that, then just admit that you're doing your editorializing, and then you lose that cozy Section 230 protection. But that's the thing with these social media platforms. They want their cake and they want to eat it too. Both groups express. I know that is a weird expression. Even when I say it, it's like, well, of course, if you have a cake, you're going to eat it. What good would it be to have cake if you're not going to eat it, right? But anyway, I digress. Anyway, so basically, I'll just like what you see here. So basically, they're suggesting that all this hate is up. But once again, let me just take that off and bring you to the chart that Elon actually brought up. Because, yeah, whatever that person's got, like I said, we have no idea what the underlying what those data points could possibly mean, really, right? But anyways, this one's easy. I mean, it's all just based on what their internal systems are recognizing on their own system. And here, based on this, hate speech impressions are lower. So this goes from October 17th, 2022 to November 30th, 2022. And as you can see, after is this supposed to be the October 17th? It looks like in around that time, middle of October-ish. And then after that, they dropped off, and then they've been relatively stable. I mean, relatively stable ever since then. And yes, they've even been going down, it looks like, in recent days, or at least recent days as it pertains to November 30th. So looks pretty legit to me. But anyways, like I say, that's just so crazy. That's the thing. People No wonder people are so confused. I mean, you're getting two, not just somewhat different, but exact opposite, opposing opinions or perspective on something that should be able to be proven objectively true. Should be, right? If there's a proper way for these analytics to actually decipher this, but that's the thing. That's the thing. Is there a proper way to determine and decipher that? That's the biggest question, I think. That's a big ask, to be honest with you. Which is why, once again, if it's not breaking the law, just leave it alone. That's the best way. And like I say, and that's not defending some. I know there's some terrible things. Hey, I've had a lot of terrible things said against me, right? But you know, at the end of the day, I can just turn away. I can look away, right? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me kind of deal. Like, I just don't believe the heavy-handed tactics. Well, even the heavy-handed tactics that they've used obviously has failed miserably, because look at all these years later, all the tools, all the tens of thousands of people that they've hired, right? They still complain nonstop that they still can't tamper. They're still playing whack-a-mole. Right? Get tired yet? Anyway, so, and another thing as it pertains to freedom of speech, the kind of thing I wanted, actually, let me get back into the chat. I haven't seen if some folks have joined in here just yet. So I'm just going to pop back in the chat and see if there's some folks in here. Yeah, we got a few people in there. What's going on, Mad Cat? Nice to see you join the stream. Really appreciate that. These ass clowns are just playing the people with, once again, their distracted bullshit. Musk has agendas, as does the rapper. If you saw him on Alex J show in the GIMP mask, you should know it's a game. I mean, a lot of people are offering different perspectives and opinions as to what it's all about when it comes to all this stuff, right? And I get it. Listen, everyone loves to play up. A lot of people love to play up and sensationalize these things. And hey, it could be. I mean, you could be correct. You could be completely, out of touch with it too. I never try. One thing I never try to do is say that I know with any amount of certainty. I can guess, right? I can make an educated guess, and I can make some assumptions, right? But I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with these people. Could be a big astral, right? Good for sure. And in terms of Musk have an agenda, maybe. I mean, all human beings have some kind of agenda in reality, but at the end of the day, what I've noticed personally on Twitter is it seems that there is more ability to speak freely on the platform. I've noticed that personally, and I don't have to rely on anyone else's opinions or perspective to tell me that. It just, based on my personal observations, seems to be that way. Let me just see what's going on. Healer. Hello, folks from Miracle Beach, BC. Hello. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining the stream. Canadian Lib. Canadian Libertarian. Definitely not liberal. It's a shame that word has been soiled so bad. So bad. Anyways, I'm just going to jump back into some of the content we're going. So this was the other thing, actually. Not sure if you folks, now it's not, I haven't seen it as of yet up on actual video. Sure, I could get it if I want to pay $25. And if it wasn't at this time of the year, it is kind of an important thing. I really do want to see it. I expect I'll get a chance to see it at some point in time, but it would have been nice to be able to bring it on, or even have it to watch myself so I could have some points and things to cover from it. But this happened, and I got to tell you, it's quite impressive. So let me bring up one sec here. There we go. Let me just bring this up, and I'm going to share this stuff. It'll be linked in the description of the stream below too. So this here, and this actually here, it's the entire transcript from the debate. So it'll be a lot contained within it. Okay, so I don't have it in its entirety because I'm not subscribed. So I may have to do this. But anyways, if you do, you can get full access to the transcript here. So I'm just going to read a little bit. Not sure if you folks are familiar. So, anyways, transcript. This is the transcript from the Munk debates. Be it resolved. Don't trust mainstream media. Author Douglas Murray and I take on Malcolm Gladwell of the New Yorker and Michelle Goldberg of the New York Times. And this is Matt Taibbi that posted this to his Substack. So this was, anyway, I'll just read this for you. The following is a transcript of the Munk debates in Toronto last Wednesday, November 30th, in which author Douglas Murray and I took on New Yorker contributor Malcolm Gladwell and columnist Michelle Goldberg of the New York Times. As noted, we won with the largest swing in the event's history, moving from a 48 to 52% voter deficit to a 67-33% win. Because the entire transcript exceeds Google's email limit, this portion is edited for size, but there's a video you can access here, and you can also click through the PDFs here. Aha! So there we go, folks. We can get this stuff if you want access to it. So it is there, and it will be available. Like I say, I'll put this in the link in the description below. But anyway, so as it goes, so when you go into these Munk debates, and you got to remember, this was put on in downtown Toronto. And if you think about the kind of people who live in Toronto, right, I would suggest a lot of them, if you were just walking down the street, a lot of them would, and you ask them, would you identify as progressive, right? I would suggest a lot of them would say so, right? I would even suggest that a plurality or a majority of them would identify as such. I mean, you're talking about downtown Toronto, the urbanites, right? Now, I will admit that they are the kind of people who still want to go listen to something as it pertains to freedom of speech. So there's that caveat as well. But at the very least, what it is the people that went into to watch that debate, they went into the Roy Thompson Hall, I believe, is where they hold these events. They went in there, and it was actually somewhat a slight minority, close to half, but so basically 48% of them basically said that the mainstream media, you can't trust they don't trust the mainstream media. Whereas 52% said they did. So very small majority, but it was the majority of people that going into the venue, a slim majority of them said, yeah, we trust the establishment media. Now, based on the facts, the evidence, and the words, the kinds of things that they said during that entire debate, and once again, two from each side, taking turns, and, saying what they have to say, but based on everything that was offered and provided by all four participants, at the end of the night, when that very same question was asked to that exact same audience, it switched to 67%, and just like they said, the highest amount of people who switched and had their opinion swayed in the history of the Munk debates. And they've been going on for quite some time. So 67% of the people said, yep, I don't trust the mainstream media, compared to just 33%. So that's 2-1. That's a 2-1 margin right there. That's a fairly sizable margin and difference in comparison, contrast to what it was when they first went into that venue, right? So it tells you, well, I mean, Douglas Murray is very competent, very articulate anyways. And so is Matt Taibbi, of course. I mean, Matt Taibbi is a great reporter. So they obviously are very good with their oratory skills. But even a really good speaker, if the things you offer are empty, meaningless, or have no real substance, they'll still fall on deaf ears, right? What this tells me is there was enough evidence presented to the audience where they're like, yeah, no, I hear you. The majority of them are like, yep, I agree. You cannot trust the establishment media. So that right there alone, that tells me, because that's a real audience of people, that tells me that at least in this particular, instance, with those particular people, all who were involved, it does seem that freedom of speech is on the rise. It's seeing a resurgence, at least somewhat, right? Anyways, I definitely recommend that you check that, and I'll be definitely checking all this stuff out myself, because this is really important, folks. Like I say, freedom of speech. I mean, I just can't hammer away at the importance of it. I mean, I mean, speech is basically your thoughts in verbal form, right? So freedom of thought, freedom of speech and freedom of thought, for your mind, for your words, for what you have to say to be yours and your own, and where nobody can force, or coerce you into thinking against your own brain or acting against your own self-interest or your own opinions or perspectives, right? But yeah, that's quite amazing. And then, of course, another funny part. Now, like I say, there was some great stuff said. Actually, I should bring up. Actually, yeah, maybe I will bring that up. One sec. Let me just make sure here. Just going to scroll back because there's a couple of them that I could have shared. Just trying to think, did I have one on my own page? Hold on. Darn. Oh, I get it. Yeah, wait, now. Actually, no, I know where it was. I know where it was. Yeah, I believe it was on Twitter. So let me find that real quick. In the meantime, actually, no, I'll have to stick with it. I'll stick with this for now. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, yeah, check this one out. So this is at least one part of it where it's Douglas Murray, at least one portion of what he had to say during the debate. So I'm just going to play it. It's a 3-minute clip. Might as well play it for you folks. Let's hope that volume and everything, as long as the sound's going to be okay.
Your Prime Minister decided that these people were, what did he do? All the modern excommunications, they were Nazis, they were white supremacists, they were anti-Semites, they were probably homophobes, they were misogynists, they were probably transphobes, etc., etc. He did all the things you do in modern political age to just defenestrate somebody who's awkward to you. And then he brings in the Emergency Powers Act. Now, at such a time, what would the mainstream media do? It would question it. It would question it. The Canadian mainstream media did not. The Canadian mainstream media acted as an amen chorus of the Canadian government. I will give you a couple of examples, but ladies and gentlemen, I could go on for hours with examples of this. You had a CBC host describing the Freedom Convoy as a, quote, feral mob. You had a Toronto Star columnist saying, quote, sorry for language, it's a homegrown hate farm that was then jet-fueled by an American right-funded rat-fucking operation. Jesus, they can't even write to these papers anymore. CBC said that 2 Indigenous women were so scared to go outside in Ottawa because of racist violence, didn't bother to mention that Indigenous drummers had led the truckers in an O Canada rendition. The National Observer said that the many Black and Indigenous Freedom Convoy supporters were in fact duped by the truckers. The Globe and Mail reporter said, my 13-year-old son told me to tell protesters I'm not a Jew out of fear of anti-Semitic violence, without mentioning that one of the leaders of the convoy was himself Jewish. Now, why is this so rancid? utterly, utterly rancid and corrupt. Because in this country, your media, your mainstream media, is funded by the government. A totally corrupted system. In 2018, election, yeah, coincidence. The Canadian media is given $595 million over 5 years. The Toronto Star estimated it was going to be getting $3 million from the government in the first half of the year. It went on and on. See, the government in Canada can tell people they can tell the banks to shut down people's bank accounts. Oh yeah, your government can do that, and if you're happy with that, just think about what would happen if the shoe was on the other foot. The government can do that, but in Canada, they can also tell the media what to do. And the media does the bidding of the Canadian government. That isn't a free society's media. I've seen free countries all my life. But this, in a developed liberal democracy like Canada, is a disgrace. We're not saying don't read the mainstream media. We're just saying don't trust them.
Yeah, so that was pretty interesting, right? I thought so anyways. Like I say, freedom of speech, we got to admit and acknowledge, there's some behemoths out there that are fully entrenched, who are part of the establishment, who still have a tremendous amount of power at their disposal. No doubt about that, which is why it's seemingly so difficult, right, to make freedom of speech real once again. It's a very difficult thing to do on some of these dominant platforms, right? But they've overplayed their hand as far as I can tell. More and more people are seeing things for what they truly are and no longer falling for the narrative. And it's not just, on a couple social media platforms that I'm noticing that. I pay particular attention to CBC News, their own website, the comment section, the ones that they at least stories they allow actual commenting on, right? But even I see a shift, a difference, not just in tone, but in the amount of people who are pushing back against the narrative. I definitely see that. And once again, out there again in my own personal and private life, fellow people I work with, friends, like I'm telling you, I've had people actually tell me that they've had a complete change of mind about a couple of different things. Because as you know, folks, I talk a lot and I talk to a lot of people about all these things. And I'm even seeing it in my own world. So I'm seeing it online. I'm seeing it in my real physical space. And I'm seeing it even on some of these, establishment media platforms, which is where you would expect to see the biggest echo chamber. And trust me, there's a lot of echo chambers still happening at CBC News, depending on the story of the day, which is what I actually find it crazy. I'm seeing a lot of people that are completely against some of the rhetoric that the CBC espouses, depending on the particular subject matter. But then if it's a topic that's near and dear to their heart, you can see where they're willing to side with the CBC if it's because I don't mind defending authoritarianism and stuff if I agree with it, right? So you definitely see that. But what it's telling me is more and more people are seeking alternative voices, or at least seeking to find out if they're being duped or not. And fewer people actually trust the media. And once again, that was a perfect example. And good for Douglas Murray and Matt Taibbi for doing such a great job. Anyways, I see Rainey Steps is joining the chat. Hey, Rainey, what's going on, my friend? Hello, sir. Thank you very kindly for the generation. I really appreciate that. Did you have a question to ask? If you want, just put it a little bit further down, and I'll look for a little bit later on. And once again, thank you for joining the stream. But yeah, so check. That's pretty wild, right? Now, there's another thing that happened. I'm not sure if you folks are. It's funny that this is all kind of happening and taking place at the same time. But there was also another event. Let me find that here. Oh, actually, let me just point this out too before, because I'll include, once again, I'm going to include anything that I cover in this video. I'm going to include it in the description or in the stream. So check this out. So this Tara Henley is one of those I covered her in a past live stream. She used to be an actual, a major figurehead at the CBC, but even she got sick and tired of all the woke, politically correct madness, stepped out on her own, and she too has her own Substack. It's Tara Henley on Substack. It's called Lean Out with Tara Henley. Let me just make sure you folks can see that. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. And this is as it pertains to that debate. So as you can see, the picture, the caption there is of Taibbi and Douglas Murray and Gladwell and what's her name? Goldberg there. Anyways, weekend reads. We don't trust. We don't deserve to be trusted. An astonishing monk debate in Toronto. Matt Taibbi and Douglas Murray's landslide. Malcolm Gladwell and Michelle Goldberg's mendacity, and 5 reasons why trust in the mainstream media is so low. So this was Tara Henley, December 3rd. The stakes were high from the moment opening arguments were made at the monk debate on the media in Toronto on Wednesday, and only escalated from there. The riveting event, staged by a Canadian charitable foundation and skillfully moderated by Rudyard Griffiths, brought together 4 prominent international journalists to debate a resolution. Don't trust mainstream media. Independent investigative reporter Matt Taibbi and Spectator editor Douglas Murray faced off against mainstream media luminaries Malcolm Gladwell and longtime staff writer at The New Yorker, and Michelle Goldberg, a columnist for The New York Times. As it happens, the exact tendencies that make the mainstream media fundamentally untrustworthy, as Matt Taibbi memorably put it, were on full display at the debate. And in a remarkable turn of events, attendees were able to witness public trust being eroded in real time. Taibbi set the tone early on with an incisive explanation of what he believes has gone wrong in the mainstream media in recent years, drawing an analysis from his book, Hate Inc., Why Today's Media Makes Us Despise One Another. You can read Taibbi's opening comments at his Substack. Now, that's actually, I might have to look into getting that book too there from Matt Taibbi. That sounds like it'd be an interesting read. The thrust of the argument from Taibbi, a veteran reporter who comes from a family of journalists, is that the mainstream media has destroyed itself with a new business model, pioneered by Fox News, but later adopted by most outlets, that caters to a narrow demographic. In the process of fighting to retain this audience, it becomes increasingly partisan, eroding industry norms and blowing past professional guardrails. Here's Taibbi speaking at the debate. My father has a saying, the story's the boss. In the American context, if the facts tell you Republicans were the primary villains in this or that disaster, you write that story. If the facts point more to Democrats, you go that way. If it turns out they're both culpable, as was often the case for me across nearly 10 years of investigating Wall Street and the cause of the 2008 financial crash for Rolling Stone, you write that. We're not supposed to nudge facts one way or another. Our job is to call things as we see them and leave the rest up to you. We don't do that now. The story is no longer the boss. Instead, we sell narrative as part of the new business model that's increasingly indifferent to fact. He continued, our colleagues on the other side tonight represent 2 once great media organizations. Michelle, the Pew survey says the audience for your New York Times is now 91% comprised of Democrats. Malcolm, the last numbers I could find for The New Yorker were back in 2012, and even then, only 9% of the magazine readers were Republicans. I imagine that number is smaller now. The bifurcated system is fundamentally untrustworthy. When you decide in advance to forgo half of your potential audience to fill the aim of catering to the other half, you're choosing in advance which facts to emphasize and which to downplay. You're also choosing which stories to cover and which ones to avoid, based on considerations other than truth and newsworthiness. This is not journalism. It's political entertainment and therefore unreliable. Oh, so true. With editors now more concerned with retaining audiences than getting things right, the defined characteristics across the business from right to left is inaccuracy. We just get a lot of stuff wrong now. It's now less important for reporters to be accurate than directionally correct, which in center-left mainstream media mostly comes down to having the right views, like opposing Donald Trump or anti-vaxxers or election deniers or protesting Canadian truckers or any other people deemed wrong thinkers. Anyways, that's pretty amazing once again, because the trucker convoy was actually brought into the fold of that. I mean, just think of how much attention that the truckers and the people that went to Ottawa on those very, very cold days in January and February I mean, you got to have mad respect for those folks, you know, and the crap, the hell that they went through, and some of them are still going through today. But look at it. It got worldwide attention, folks. And it's not it by itself, but it has helped contribute and leading to these kinds of things coming to light. The conversations that are taking place, not just, you know, on airwaves and on the internet, but at dinner tables, you know, and smoke filled pubs and stuff. I mean, people are starting to talk about things, and that's a good thing. People talking, that's a good thing, even if they disagree with the other, because at the very least, if we're using our words and ideas have a tremendous amount of power all by themselves, folks. Never underestimate the power of words and ideas. Anyways, I won't bother reading the rest of this. Once again, this is that Tara Henley, former CBC, a bigwig, I believe. She was fairly important there at CBC. And well, apparently freedom of speech is quite important to her as well. Okay, let me just bring that back here. Oh, thanks, Rainey. Yeah, I'm still kicking. Actually, doing really good in my own personal life. You know, I will admit I've been kind of really enjoying doing my own little thing. Well, I've been building relationships, like I say, in my own personal life more so, not just my immediate family, but friends and extended family members and stuff. And I've just been doing my thing, you know, putting my house in order as best I can, right? Because that's one thing I've always been really hyper focused on my whole life, no matter what it is, my goals or any endeavor or any mission I'm on. It's like, well, I got to make sure I really know what I'm doing, especially if I'm going to get into or delve into, you know, having opinions or perspective about things. I unlike a lot of people in the stash media, I don't like to mislead people. I like to know that I'm at least properly informed, and I'll admit when I'm wrong, which is why most of the things where I do form an opinion on, it has to be based on something that has something tangible and something meaningful underneath of it, right? So morals and ethics and principles are what guide my opinions or perspectives, right? And they don't sway with the wind. They're rock solid. Let me see here. Me too, brother. I feel the ones who push their bullshit have no clue how smart common folks really are. That's true. If they knew what it took to do the jobs most of us do, they'd realize they should shut the fuck. Isn't that the truth? So true. So true. That's the thing. These people live in their own little echo chambers, their own little gated communities, their own little bubbles. They're so clueless. And I just keep thinking, if you would just take the time, a lot of this stuff, like to me, I can't help but imagine, because like I said, I've had conversations. I don't know if you folks remember, but that guy, Warren Mosler, one of the main guys that thought of modern monetary theory. I've had discussions with, who was that lady from Twitter that was like a really lefty activist? Had some pretty abrasive words in her tweets, but actually agreed to have an online conversation with me during a live stream. And once again, every time I've done that, I noticed, you know, when we have to look at each other, even if it's just through a camera, which is why to me it's so important to have these kinds of conversations, not in text form, but at least, like, if you can't be in person, at least, you know, be able to get those audio and visual cues and look each other in the eyes kind of thing. Because every time I've ever done that, I don't think there's even been one exception, we've found ways to find common ground and to, you know, tamp down the flames of division. And to me, that's the most important thing. That is why I think the freedom of speech, when freedom of speech has really started to attain its glory in this modern 21st century, is when people from all different perspectives and backgrounds and ideology actually have the audacity, the courage, and the conviction to sit down and hammer out these big ideas, right? Use the words, right? Sit at the big boy and girl table, right? Act like adults. That's when I know things are really, really changing for the better. But at the very least, like I say, it kind of does look like things are on the upward swing. It looks like freedom of speech is at least starting to make a comeback. All right. Now, I did want to cover, so there's that too. I'll make sure to cover that. Oh, and then there was another one. so another little thing that happened. So should I bring up the Musk? We all know about I don't even really think I have to talk too much about the Hunter Biden laptop saga. Come on. I mean, the Twitter files, I mean, right there, that is huge. I mean, so freedom of speech, and especially as it pertains to that, is definitely at least taking somewhat of a foothold, right? Because without Elon Musk, being in control and in charge of Twitter, a lot of this stuff would have never happened, folks. It would have never happened, right? I mean, it would still be somewhere in some obscure point in a corner of the internet, or like somewhere on 4chan or somewhere. But now on Twitter, on the the main stage, the big online, the big city square or whatever, is people are actually seeing this stuff, the information coming to light. Now, the establishment media is busy ignoring it. And think about it. Usually think about it. The minute the people on the right, that's the way they play it now, the whole left-right thing. Not, I'm on either side. I don't play that game, right? But usually the typical response to the establishment media, when the right comes up with something like this, right, with some information that they vehemently disagree with, right, or something that goes against the narrative, first thing they want to do is jump at it and try to debunk it. Come up with all kinds of rhetoric trying to debunk it, right? Establishment media, so far, the plurality, the majority, the bulk of them aren't even going near it. Won't even touch it, right? With a 10-foot stick. They're basically trying to ignore it and hope it'll just go off into obscurity, because they realize people have short attention spans. So they're just thinking, they're just sitting there crossing their fingers like, all right, we just ignore this story long enough, surely and hopefully it'll go away. Well, I don't think it will, but that does seem to be their game plan, at least at this particular junction. But yeah, the information is out. I mean, come on. I mean, this definitely affected. I mean, the election was not that much off in the difference. The election result was obviously affected by this, because as we know, polls, right? I'm not saying I trust polls, but the Democrats and the people that represent the establishment, they do trust these polls, right? And they take these polls. And the poll said that there was a substantial, well, it was a minority, but there was a substantial double-digit percentage of people who would have switched their votes if they had known that this Hunter Biden laptop thing was actually real and not a Russian bot misinformation campaign, right? So yeah, Twitter, basically, that's the thing. People are trying to, if you want to get into all the little legal aspects of it and play the legalese game, right? You can banter and argue back and forth all day long as far as I'm concerned. But if you just look at it from the macro picture, right? Put it into even relatively decent focus, like, yeah, come on. It's right there. I mean, it's pretty obvious. There was some election interference taking place. Trump was the one accused of it. Right? And I mean, look what they did to Trump. I mean, Trump was even taken off of Twitter, although he's back now. He hasn't come back on Twitter, but Elon Musk has reinstated his account. I mean, election interference. So, of course, the media doesn't, just like with the COVID narrative. Just like the COVID narrative, the media basically, a lot of the time, you're not even hearing much about it anymore. Because why? They know they've lied so much. There's too many lies to try to make up for. Too much rhetoric, too much propaganda. So they're like, let's just walk away from it. There's no way we can wipe that clear. There's no way we can unwind all that stuff. So, you know what? Let's not even bother trying. Let's just ignore it, which is what they're basically doing these days. Now, they're just going to wait till the next opportunity where they get a chance to pump up some more fear-based narrative or propaganda. But in the meantime, in this interim right now, we can definitely say with certainty that a lot of these things, and I see people saying it all the time, and this is just so true, a lot of these things that were labeled conspiracies, and the people who talked about this stuff were labeled as conspiracy theorists, well, it's all coming to true. All of it is coming to be proven true once again. I won't beat or hammer away too much on the Twitter files on the Hunter Biden laptop thing, because once again, I realize that every man and his dog, right, and woman, I guess, right, is covering this particular topic. And yeah, I think it is it's a big, huge, massive thing. But once again, I mean, just the sheer fact that most of those in the established media are just basically trying to ignore this massive, massive story. I mean, that just speaks volumes, folks. It speaks volumes as to their intentions, right? As to their dishonesty, their willingness to continue to allow that lie to perpetrate, right? They're hoping that at least their peeps, the Democrats or the liberals, right? They're at least hoping that, they'll never read the Toronto Sun. Because, I mean, yeah, you're seeing it in the Toronto Sun. Not too many lefties read the Toronto Sun, right? So they're just relying on, sure, the right wingers, well, they just know things that they already knew. They're just hearing information they already heard. But as long as we can keep our own peeps, in our own little silos, in our own little echo chambers, and keep telling them this is all bullshit anyways, or is it just a big nothing burger? Because that's the thing they're trying to come out with now. That's the defense now. That's the most they have to say with it. Any of them that want to even acknowledge it is, it's just a big nothing burger. Yeah, we already knew that, but it's bullshit. More or less, right? So that's like, really, don't even have to put any effort into that stuff at all. That's crazy. You should have to at least put some effort into it. Anyways, there's one other thing that I wanted to cover. And like I say, when you talk about freedom of speech, it wasn't just the event at the Monk debate at Roy Thomson Hall. No, there was another event as it pertains to the establishment media. But what was this one? Here, let me explain it to you. Let me tell it to you here. I'll find the actual post. Okay. And I will actually, this one's only a minute. I have to do the whole one, the full length one. Okay, is this the entire one? The one in its entirety? No, it's just 2 minutes, this one. Okay. Oh, here it is. I'll just open this up on Twitter still. So, yeah, the establishment media. Here, let me bring this up. Let me link this one up here, folks. Present. So this Ellie Quentin-Natel is a journalist at True North Center. So this this is just one of the contributors to True North Center. Shout out to all the folks at True North Center. Really appreciate everything you fine folks do there, at least at challenging some of the establishment media narrative. That's a great thing to have some of you folks, and some of you are becoming quite popular on the platforms on social media. And it's nice to see that you're giving the old establishment media a run for their money. Anyway, so this is CBC President Catherine Tait says her organization has been pushing for online platform quickly remove toxic messages. She also called for societal change, legislation to protect journalists, and penalties for those who refuse to stop. So this was an event that was held at Carleton University, the School of Journalism and Communications, that basically put on the pretense that, the establishment media are the victims. There's a lot of hate and verbal abuse, and they even call speech violence, which is so crazy. But they're trying to suggest all this violence that's happening towards the establishment media figures in Canada these days. It's a bit of a misnomer for sure, and they definitely want to play up that victim mentality. But let me just play a couple small snippets here. So this one in particular is, once again, CBC President Catherine Tait.
CBC had at the senior level to enforce their own guidelines and take quicker action to remove toxic messages. Obviously, it's after the fact effort. We're not obviously able to get to them before the fact. That's another matter, and we're working on that as well. We're encouraging police across the country to treat online abuse the same way they treat child pornography, as a cybercrime that crosses police jurisdictions and so requires a coordinated response. And we've been speaking with the federal government to join efforts underway in other countries to protect journalists in legislation. And certainly the presence of the Minister of Public Safety, Minister Mendocino, here tonight underscores the government's commitment to this issue. So I realize that these longer-term solutions may not relieve the immediate damage of harm. In the end, society will need to change.
So before I continue on, just think about what she said already. CBC, which is Canada's state-funded media outlet, propaganda arm of the government, is joining forces with the government, the Trudeau Liberal government, to target Canadians. Yeah, Canadians. People are trying to hold government to account and challenge the BS, the narratives coming out of these propagandist arms of the government, these government-funded news organizations, which basically speaks for almost all the establishment media these days. But yeah, they're going to join together to target Canadians who are trying to stand up for their rights, their freedoms, their freedom of speech. I mean, how disturbing is that, folks? So look at Carleton University. You're looking at, once again, think about it. Academia, the media, the political class. You got a lot of those. I mean, remember what happened when the banks, going into people's accounts, shutting them down. I mean, major corporations, the banks, like I say, the media, they're all basically in bed together working against you, just the average Canadian. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. That is literally what it is to live in a tyrannical country. And in Canada, you live in a tyrannical country. Now, the people who say, no, you don't. Well, that's just like if you were in Nazi Germany and said, yeah, the fucking Hitler, that Adolf Hitler, he's a piece of shit fascist prick, and I can't stand him. And he's oppressing me by trying to force me to do what he wants and compels me to do. Well, there would have been a lot of people in Germany that would have said, how dare you say that about our dear leader, right? So once again, people's perspective, the fact that they're defending the state and big government and using big government as a means to an end, well, these are people that are not adverse to using violence, force, coercion, or theft for that matter. CBC's whole budget predominantly, or I shouldn't say entirely, but it's the predominance of its budget comes from stealing from you and I, the taxpayer, who don't want to pay these corrupt criminal organizations to hear their bullshit rhetoric and propaganda that seeks to economically and socially enslave us. We're forced to. So they're not against or adverse to using force by any stretch. They're just, what this really means is they're seeing the writing on the wall. And no, it's not that they're actually seeing real threats of violence or anything. What they recognize is they're the enemy of the people. All of these venues, all these outlets, every time you hear these fucking idiots speak, that's basically what they're doing is they're telecasting. Once again, they're projecting the fact that they realize that they're on the wrong side of history. They realize they have nothing but lies, bullshit, and propaganda that back up their rhetoric. It's empty and vacuous. And they realize their opponents have the truth and their opponents aren't wimps. Listen, the reason why the establishment media is scared to death is because the people they're targeting, the people, freedom-loving people, liberty lovers like myself, they realize we're not wimps or weak by any stretch in the imagination. What it is, they're scared of the potential backlash or things that could happen. What it is, they're dreaming. They're probably having nightmares of things that could potentially happen. And why? Because their own internal guilt mechanism is telling them, yeah, you should feel and think this way because you're guilty of doing some really nefarious and heinous fucking things towards a lot of people. The fact that none of it is actually taking place, the fact that they really don't have anyone that they should really genuinely, seriously be overly concerned with, or I shouldn't say anyone at all, but the fact that most of these people can still walk around with no cause or concern whatsoever, for the most part, I mean, once again, it's just them suggesting that they know what they're doing and they're fearful of the potential reprisal. And they should be. Not just them, but government. Government. You know when you have freedom, you know when you have liberty. and hopefully we're getting close to that point, is when government is scared of the people. Not the other way around, which is mostly what it is today, where most people, well, better sit down, shut up, right? Especially that silent majority, better scared of government. Now, we need to flip that completely upside down and on its head. If you want to have freedom, that is. Yeah, so there's that. What else? Oh, there was a couple other little things. There was one. Oh, this was the funny one. Here, let me play this one. Nice little montage here. Because it wasn't just her, Catherine Tate. It's a fairly long one, and actually I'll find that entire video as well and place that down there so you can watch it. I got to tell you, it's going to be difficult because you're going to be watching a bunch of establishment media hacks claiming, oh, I'm so, pure, putting on the pure, I'm the victim. I'm the poor helpless victim. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow, but anyways, let me play this here for you, folks. I see the internet's kind of, well, it's not the internet. I found out what that is. Actually, I finally found out what goes on when my internet does this thing. It's not my internet connection. Thank goodness. Starlink still works great. What it is my streaming software, because I'm on the low end of the actual, have different options in terms of the plans you can buy. I'm on the lowest plan, so I get the lowest amount of bandwidth allotted to me. If I went to a higher one, matter of fact, if I paid $50 a month, I could actually do webinars, and it even puts right in everything is completely stable. Like you get much higher allotted bandwidth. So everything's stable, professional quality. So at least it's good to know that. It's good because there for a while I was wondering, somebody messing with me? Am I getting messed with something? But no, apparently the reason why my quality kind of kicks in and out is because I'm not paying the big bucks. And unfortunately, I just don't have the amount of big bucks like to do that stuff, maybe if I keep doing this long enough and I garner and gain a big enough amount of support and supporters, I might be able to get into doing something like that. Because I really would love to get back into making things really, and like doing things, even take it up a notch or two in the professional level. I would really like to do that. Even have someone to help me, because that's the thing. I try to do everything myself. It's so difficult to do that. So difficult to do that. Anyways, later, let me show you. Here, the front. Okay. So let's maximize.
To warn you that you're going to hear some harsh, disturbing language. Let me begin with the land acknowledge.
Hold on. You're going to get a kick out of this. Hold on. Yeah, just making sure that you folks can see that okay. And hopefully you can hear it okay. No, actually, that's maxed out there. Okay. All right. So let me start this over.
I need to warn you that you're going to hear some harsh, disturbing language. Let me begin with the land acknowledgement. As a fifth-generation settler and dismantle white supremacist colonial mindsets,
that journalists who are harassed online have significantly more.
Hold on. I just wanted to point out before I continue on. So, as a fifth-generation settler, he basically, that guy, once again, projecting. He even basically admits on stage that, he has a tremendous amount of white guilt. Like I say, the reason why these people try to project and try to make you feel guilty, feel like you're a racist, Islamophobe, homophobe, whatever, right? All these names, right? Sexist, all. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. They're projecting. And if you just listen, they'll tell you. If the proof is in the pudding, just listen. They'll tell you that they're projecting. Just listen to what they got to say.
Or symptoms of anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic distress.
I went through digital lynching recently.
Because I've been dealing with so much that I actually disengaged because my brain doesn't work that great these days.
I wish this panel were more intersectional. It does not reflect an intersectional look. I do not see white men.
Privileged white people,
Well, especially like white male journalists or white supremacists.
and that journalist.
I'm supposed to come here and act properly. and I would like to ask them if they know the definition of misogynoir.
It's a really tough question.
Which is misogyny against Black women. So media treats Black women very poorly.
Because as journalists, we're like constantly on, we're all about Twitter.
When the Queen died. But I didn't see many voices that wrote like I did who said, well, I'm glad the Queen is dead. And let me tell you why.
So maybe I'll make a TikTok.
Far right and the rise of the far right.
And I'm at the park with my dog.
These are all either convoy people or convoy adjacent people.
I like pumpkin spice lattes.
You're fucked. You're straight up fucked.
Maybe because I'm annoying, or maybe just because I'm a journalist.
How do you get those police officers to take this seriously?
And maybe that's a little something to think about. Yeah.
I'm as white and middle-aged as they get. So I'm the poster boy for white privilege. So I apologize for that.
Taya. Right? Projection. These folks should be sitting or laying down on a couch somewhere, not sitting in their chair. Wow. Just wild. But anyways, like I say, folks, at the very least, all this talk, right? It's telling me that there's something in the air. Of course, things could take a dramatic turn or shift for the worse tomorrow, next week, next month. Who knows? There's definitely a lot of uncertainty around these days. But at least for now, I'm feeling a little bit warm and fuzzy to a degree. No, but I'm serious. Feeling a little bit optimistic, at least for freedom of speech, because I realize that there's some very powerful people, not just people like myself that have no power whatsoever, right? Lots of exuberance, a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication, no power, no reach, right? No major influence. But when you have people like Elon Musk on your side that has a tremendous amount of reach, a tremendous amount of influence, and tremendous amount of money. I mean, he is the richest man on the planet. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good sign. And then, like I say, you got fine folks like, you know, your Douglas Murrays and your Matt Taibbies, and there's many more where that comes from. And actually, one more thing I want to just say real quick. Actually, I'll probably tie this up there shortly, but yeah, I'm wondering when Elon, he's supposed to be doing a blanket, what's the word I'm looking for? Blanket amnesty. And it's supposed to be bringing back everyone on Twitter that was banned. Or I should, maybe not necessarily everyone, but the overwhelming majority of people were banned. And I got to tell you, a lot of people have their own special, individuals or groups that they like to follow and pay attention to. And I got to tell you, for me personally, I don't even think it would make a difference. He might actually take the same approach of Donald Trump, say, yeah, it's nice, appreciate it, but nah, I'm just going to stay over here in my lane. Thank you very much. But yeah, Stefan Molyneux, I would love for Stefan Molyneux to be back and having his voice on some of these big dominant social media platforms would be great. But once again, I don't know, that might be a bridge burnt too many that, like I say, might not even want to get back involved. But a lot of people are missing out. If you're not familiar with Stefan Molyneux, well, you can right now. Once again, like when I started this stream, the internet being the highway, and websites or social media platforms being destinations off particular exits. Well, if you want to learn a lot of information as it pertains to philosophy, you can go to freedomain.com and see his entire library. I mean, not just of podcasts and videos, but of books, free books. The man wrote multiple books to help you in your philosophical journey or venture. And I definitely recommend anyone check him out. And another one I will point out too, although I don't think he's much on Twitter, not sure if he would even be interested or not, but there's another person that had quite a substantial major influence on helping me have a major mind shift and be able to think things, with a better, more objective perspective and more deeply is Larkin Rose. And I believe he's working on right now. He already has a video called The Jones Plantation, which I've shared many, many times in the past. Check it out. Go to his YouTube channel, Larkin Rose, and then you can find The Jones Plantation. but he's working on a new updated version. And it's supposed to be quite the production apparently, but that, yeah, I got to tell you, that's a real eye opener, the Jones Plantation. The Tiny Dot, another great eye opening video done with a little bit of animation. But like I say, when you put things not just with words, but with visuals and audio cues, it's so powerful, right? But yeah, there's some people that I would love to see back on Twitter, and I'm hoping to see this amnesty actually take place and come to fruition. And we're going to see how this pans out, right? How this free speech venture, this free speech experiment on Twitter pans out. We'll see how it goes. We're going to watch that unfold in real time. Oh, I see Steve Ryan. What's going on, Steve Ryan? Ew, convoy people. Ew. right. Nangina man. Mangina. Mangina, yeah. Right on. Thanks for joining the stream there, Steve. I was actually just getting ready to tie it up there, my friend, but you can check it out a little bit later on there if you get a chance to. I'm just keeping these my first few live streams, dipping back into things, dipping my toes in the water. I'm trying to keep things limited there for the first few. I'm going to try to get into doing some interviews. That's where I really like, as much as I like to get this information out, sometimes I even get sick of hearing my own voice, kind of in a way, but I do really like engaging in dialogue and conversation, or even vigorous debate with other people. So I'm really looking into not just getting back into doing live streams and helping educate and inform my fellow Canadians and anyone else who's willing to listen, but getting back into doing some interviews. And I'm going to try to, rather than just deal with people that I perceived as at least being on my level and stuff, I'm even going to start shooting and aiming a little, I shouldn't say that, but aiming a little higher in terms of the kind of people that I want to, not as a means to grow my own platform or to get any more attention, but like I say, I recognize that that's where a lot of the attention is taking place, is with having big conversation ideas with people that have a lot to offer, right? Me, I'm typically willing to just bring anyone into the fray and conversation, and I still will. I'm always still willing to talk with basically anyone. If you have something to say, something you want to get off your mind, your chest, I'm always willing to engage in dialogue and conversation and host it on my YouTube channel and stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of thinking I should reach out to some of the people who I've kind of avoided. The reason why I avoided reaching out to some of these people that I perceive as at much higher levels, have achieved much higher levels or attained much higher levels of success than me, is I just don't feel like part of me feels dirty if it feels like I'm trying to hang on to their coattails and trying to, soak up some of their limelight. But now that I think I've proven that that's not the case. I have never done that. I've got lots of years of track record to show that. But yeah, there's a lot of people who when I listen, it's like, I would really love to engage in dialogue or conversation with those people. So, and a lot of the times there are people with a much broader audience than I have. But so once again, I'm going to try doing that, see how I can make that work. And hopefully you folks will come along with me for the ride and the journey. Anyways, once again, I'm going to tie this live stream up, but I really do appreciate. Yeah. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that, man. Yeah. Interviews. It's something that I really want to get into. Yeah. One good viral interview with a high profile person could really expand your reach. That is so true, Zach. That is so true. But even when you say that, it makes me feel dirty just by sheer fact that, but that's the thing. It's I don't know. I'm one of those people. Listen, I fully admit I have a problem with asking others for help. Terrible for that. If I could say probably one of the worst aspects of me, my personality and my traits, is the fact that I'm so vehemently against asking others for help, so staunchly independent and stuff, right? I really do got to get over that. I do. So thank you very much, folks. I really appreciate it. And nice to see you, Zach. I remember you from a while back. So nice to see you too, Steve, and some of you fine folks. Nice to see some of the old folks coming out of hibernation. Well, I don't know if you've been hibernation. Well, not necessarily hibernation, but nice to see that you're coming into the chat and engaging with me once again, because I got to tell you, especially people like you, Steve, you've been around a long time, and I have mad appreciation. It was people like you that kept me going very early on when I was just dipping my toes in the water all those many years ago. And I have a mad amount of respect and appreciation for people like you. And thank you, Zach. Thanks all you fine folks. Thanks all of the new people who are starting to come to the channel too. You know, we'll try our best, like I say, to build and expand upon these relationships, and hopefully, like I say, liberty and freedom of speech, all that entails, will take a real deep, firm foothold in our prospective societies, and we'll just march forward with it. Right? That's the best. That's the best we can do. And once again, we do have truth on our side, which is, once again, the most powerful weapon on the planet. Truth and it has the potential to be the most powerful weapon on the planet. Oh, just one more sec there, folks. Liquid Gel or Liquid Gal. Hey, Liquid Gal. Thanks, Bennett. Good to hear you. Thank you very much, Liquid Gal. And thanks to all the rest of you folks who joined the stream. Have yourself a great Sunday evening. We'll see you in the next one. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.